Hey, welcome back to a new moon Sunday in Scorpio. I didn't get all that together just right. Let's try that again. Hi, welcome into a new moon in Scorpio Sunday. That sounds better. It's the Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller, thanks for stopping in. This is kind of a big day and worthy of taking note that we are going to have a particularly interesting new moon today. So the energy is already upon us. However, the moon does not move into Scorpio until 4:28 p.m. Eastern Time today. However, it will be void of course, so neutral, apathetic, if you will, kind of taken off the slate. Lunar energies not prolific from 4:21 a.m. until 4:28 p.m. So for 12 hours, basically, the moon is going to be kind of in neutral. If you were driving a stick shift of planets, the moon would be in neutral. But boy, then does it shift into gear, because in Scorpio, let's kind of paint the picture of what the moon is like in Scorpio. So one thing we know, when we take the moon, when we're talking about deep emotions, and we talk about Scorpio when we're talking about deep water, I mean, just put that together, right? This is about going deep. So like we talked about yesterday, if you didn't hear yesterday's podcast, talking about this Mars-Saturn square, now we have on top of that the moon in Scorpio digging deep things up. And there's another component that I think we have to just bring right on in at this point, is that the moon in Scorpio in ancient astrology is in fall. It's called in fall. It's in detriment. In other words, it's least happy sign. Now, modern astrology doesn't necessarily recognize detriments in fall as much as ancient astrology does. I do a blend. I mean, I use both in everything that I do. There is a lot of ancient wisdom, and I think that needs to be brought forward and preserved. I really appreciate the work that Chris Brennan is doing in the Astrology Podcast, and his whole thing is keeping ancient astrology, Hellenistic traditions alive. And kudos to you, sir. You're doing a brilliant job of it. So the point is, if you feel some deeper emotions that could be a little disturbing, well, then just consider that the ancients kind of knew what they were talking about. And it may or may not come up for you. So the moon comes into already kind of a full house, because the sun is in Scorpio now, of course. Venus and Mercury still in Scorpio. And remember, Mercury turns retrograde in Scorpio next Sunday. So Mercury's going to be in Scorpio for quite a while. And the moon stays in there until Tuesday. It doesn't move into Sagittarius until Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. That's Eastern Time. So just be ready and aware that there could be some deeper things coming up. Now, typically on a new moon, what you would do is set intentions. So this is the putting it out. Follow the moon's actual physical condition. So beginning at a new moon, the moon starts to get bigger. So we want to create things that expand. And then when the moon is full, it starts to get smaller. So that's when we release things and let things go. And then we follow that through until about 6 months later, when we will have the full moon in Scorpio. And that completes just one cycle. And there are other lunar cycles, and there's some great information online about manifesting with the moon or following the lunar cycles. A lot more than we can do here, but there are other completion points is the emphasis there. So when you really get into this with the moon, it is so fascinating. You know, a lot of people just stay with the moon in astrology and mostly follow that. And they time things to it, financial decisions made around the moon or moon phases. So just because it's in and out of a sign in a couple of days and changing all the time, don't disregard the moon. There's a lot that we can adjust and set in our lives according to that beautiful luminary in the sky. So what I would suggest for this Scorpio new moon, for one, just be aware of the energy, i.e. don't get caught off guard. Something deep comes up, just let it be. And typically, and don't react. Don't raise the scorpion's tail. So for the next couple of days, just keep that in mind. Keep that kind of forefront in mind. Oh, yeah, the moon's in Scorpio. Another thing is, don't afraid to just go deep with yourself. Lots of self-honesty. Just make it raw. Bring it up and out. And the other thing is, look deep for things that you've really wanted in your life but aren't there. Maybe things that you thought were too big, too impossible, too out of reach. Hey, go for it. No goal or dream too big under this beautiful moon that you won't see. But you know what I'm doing. We're creating with it, right? And then there's one other aspect that should be pointed out, and that is that it is in an opposition with Uranus in Taurus. And there's a whole bunch of pictures we could paint there, but if you wanted to work on a little bit of transformation around your financial situation, there's a good energy to pick up on. Yeah, like what's keeping you from it? Stretch that rubber band and see what pops. Let your intuition guide, because that will also be really strong under this Scorpio moon. Let your intuitive senses just run kind of wild, but have some way to capture what they say. Don't let it slip. Like a dream, you know, when you wake up in the morning, you don't write that sucker down, it's gone. Do the same here with your intuition. All right? See you back. We'll kick the week off tomorrow.